But why the big secret? People are smart. They can handle it.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
And for today's episode, we are going to get started with the Men in Black series.
Large adult entertainment section in the back.
That's just nasty.
Time for the greatest show fi start anew. The ringmaster James, him step inside the frame with a wide angle.
Good morning, Creature Features. Welcome to Cinema Clown Around. I'm your host, James, and this is episode 7. So today, I'd like to just start by reminding everybody to please comment, like, subscribe, share, and let me know if there's any topics you'd like me to cover. And for today's episode, we are going to get started with the Men in Black series.
And if no one knows he exists, how can anyone ever love him?
The film series, starting with the first movie that came out in 1997, and then kind of going through all the way to the animated series, and then the most recent film, Men in Black International. So we are going to start with Men in Black 1 from 1997, and a little bit about the movie. It's about a covert agency, seems kind of like it's the United States government, where they monitor and kind of police extraterrestrial life on Earth. And it's a lot of fun. It's an action comedy with Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Vincent D'Onofrio is in the film, and so is Rip Torn as Chief Zed. And this is a film that was directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, and actually Steven Spielberg was the producer on this film. And what was pretty interesting was it was Steven Spielberg who had to encourage and entice Tommy Lee Jones into taking the part, because he was considering taking the role, but he wasn't sure if the dry humor was going to translate from script to screen. So we all have to thank Spielberg for securing Tommy Lee Jones for that role, for sure. And for this film, they actually were going to have a different ending. It was going to be a lot more quiet and philosophical, but instead, they had to add another $4.5 million to add the very final scene where the bug eats Tommy Lee Jones's character. So definitely keep an eye out for that scene at the end. And I wonder what kind of film we would have got without that. And then Vincent D'Onofrio, as Edgar, he's excellent in this film. So he plays a farmer whose body was taken over by a mutant alien cockroach, and it's able to use his skin to appear human for the most part. And he definitely doesn't act human, and that's one of the genius parts of his performance is you see him kind of stumbling around, which he actually wore leg braces to make sure that he'd get that specific walk, which is pretty interesting. And it was the voice that he did, it was pretty interesting. I was watching him explain his 10 greatest roles, or some of his best roles with GQ, and he was explaining that at first he was doing this crazy voice, this, "Oh, what are you doing in my truck?" But the director, Barry Sonnenfeld, was like, are you going to do that voice throughout this whole thing? And he said, well, yeah. And I guess it's an alien trying to be human, but he really nails that performance. And he really is the standout of the film for me. I mean, looking back, I remember him as one of the best villains really in sci-fi film history so far. So y'all can argue with me on that in the comments. And this was actually a time when CGI was becoming like really good looking on the screen. And people would actually go to the movies to see like computer generated stuff, and they were surprised by it and enthralled. I remember it specifically. It was exciting, it was fun, and it kind of showed the possibility of where filmmaking could go. And so this film was made for $90 million, which actually, if you think about 1997, to put that much into an action comedy, that's, they don't know if it was going to work or not. And Will Smith, he wasn't quite the name that he had become just yet, but this catapulted him into worldwide fame, especially after making $589 million at the box office. I mean, that's a lot of money. And I remember getting this one in my Christmas stocking, and that was particularly cool because, you know, you don't really, I guess you don't really expect cool gifts to be in the stockings, but I remembered flipping the stocking over, and there was a VHS, you know, brand new sealed copy of Men in Black, which I wanted to go and watch immediately, but, you know, you still had Christmas morning. And I remember the toys for this being really cool, too. I didn't really have any of the toys. I think I got like 1 or 2 of them. But they were really highly stylized, and they reflected the, you know, the Men in Black series really well. And Mikey was probably my favorite alien. He's the very first alien that you see at the beginning, and I just like him. He's cool. And what was kind of interesting about this film is you kind of almost got a new insult where you could say, oh, that person, if you're talking about a person who isn't quite acting normal, you could say, oh, they're acting like, you know, one of those aliens trying to pose as a human. And what was actually pretty interesting in this film, and actually the whole overarching series, is they have this thing where they have famous aliens. So it's famous or successful or just well-known people who are actually aliens underneath. And there's a pretty interesting list here. So George Lucas is on the list, Sylvester Stallone, Danny DeVito, Yao Ming, and then Dennis Rodman is on the list. So it is interesting that they have basketball players on the list because they're, I guess, just trying to pose as if they're trying to be human. And then with the Rodman one, at the end of the first movie, there's a joke where they're like, oh, you know, Rodman is from a certain alien planet. Well, that's not much of a disguise. And then Steven Spielberg actually is one of the aliens who they say is actually posing to be human. So that, I think that's a pretty interesting one considering he's the executive producer. And then Elvis is on the list, Pierce Morgan, Lady Gaga, that's one of the more recent ones, Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Tim Burton, Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Elon Musk, that's an interesting one, Newt Gingrich, Andy Warhol, and then finally Michael Jackson.
How'd it go?
Zed, the Jolocks are gone and the treaty is signed.
Good work.
Zed, what about that position you promised me in Men in Black?
Which he actually, for the second Men in Black movie that came out in 2001, he actually lobbied to have a role in the film, and Sonnenfeld actually gave him a cameo as himself. And it's interesting to learn that because I always thought that that was like an impersonator for that specific role. So it's cool that he actually went and appeared himself.
I'll keep you posted.
Wait a minute, that's not what you promised me.
You're breaking up.
Zed?
Can't hear you.
Hello?
I'll call you back.
I can be Agent M.
This was a bigger film than Independence Day, if you think about it. You know, they had more sequels. The sequels came out closer together than, you know, Independence Day only had one sequel, and it came out 20 years after the first one came out. So I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that you had Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, and the two of them, the chemistry together, Tommy Lee Jones as the seasoned Men in Black agent who's training Will Smith's character to, you know, showing him the ropes. And Will Smith is a lot more loose, whereas Tommy Lee Jones seems a little more by the book. And this is one I watched in the theater with a friend, and I remembered he had already seen it, but he wanted to go see it again because it was that good. And I also, when this came out, we rented it and we watched it with family, and then obviously when I got it as a gift, we watched it with the family too. So one of the things I have to say about this is almost kind of like the Ghostbusters of the 1990s. You didn't really have something like the Ghostbusters to come out during the 90s, and Men in Black was it, for sure. And, you know, if we're looking at the next Men in Black movie too, this is another one that I saw at the movies. This is Men in Black 2, and this one came out in 2001. And one of the cool parts about this is, you know, they brought back most of the original cast, but they also added Rosario Dawson, Johnny Knoxville, and Laura Flynn Boyle. And Johnny Knoxville was kind of a cool cameo there. I remembered I was excited to see that in the theater. And Patrick Warburton also makes a very brief appearance at the beginning of this film.
Man, what is wrong with you?
You're gonna neuralize me.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are. You took me to a public place so I wouldn't make a scene.
You making a scene.
So in this one, they're kind of rehashing the old Men in Black plot where this alien Serlena, played by Laura Flynn Boyle, appears on Earth, and the Men in Black have to stop her. But see, the twist is in this one, because Tommy Lee Jones's character was neuralized in the first film, they have to deneuralize him and try to bring his memories back. And this came out just 5 years afterward, and they gave this $140 million budget compared to the $90 million budget that the first film had. And this film actually was the least performing at the box office, which was interesting, considering they went ahead and made a sequel after that. And I know Linda Florentino, who was in the first film, who kind of acts as the new agent who then joins Will Smith. They sideline her in this one at the very beginning and just say, I guess she wanted to go back to regular society and didn't like Men in Black. And that's kind of a, strange thing that they do with the Men in Black, where it's like, oh, you have a chance to go there, and then if you don't like it, you could just go back to normal life. And I guess they do that with Tommy Lee Jones, although he's retiring in the first one. With her, she just didn't like the job, I guess. Instead, she preferred working in the morgue, which is pretty interesting. I think I'd much rather be, a Men in Black. Nick Cannon also has a small cameo in this one, just like how we mentioned Michael Jackson does. And he's pretty funny. And then, Frank is back. He plays the pug. So he was in the first one. It's Talking Dog, who he's got a bit of an attitude, and he's fun. This definitely makes me want pizza when I watch it, because big setting in this film is in a pizzeria. So every time I watch it, they're always talking about pizza. So it's hard to watch it and not want to go ahead and eat some food after that.
2 for 1 every Wednesday.
Give twice as much as ye receive on the most sacred of days, every Wednesday.
And we had to wait 11 years until the next one came out.
Enlighten.
Be kind. Rewind.
Go back and reconcile your past in order to move tranquilly into your future.
2 for 1.
So, I mean, that's a pretty long drought for Men in Black. And, people were still going to go see it, and the interest was still there, though. Now, David Cross probably is one of my favorite cameos of the whole thing.
You're gonna need a picture ID, written proof of ownership of the cat, notarized proof of kinship with the deceased.
Don't do that.
He's a comedian, and he appears in the first film, and he actually gets killed, but then he comes back in the second one, probably a different character. He works at a video store.
Yes, Mom, I'm up here with some friends.
I want to have your baby.
Would you like some mini pizza?
You guys want some mini pizzas?
Rip Torn, this was his last film as Chief Zed.
Hell, you miss her. It happens to all of us. There was this hot young thing I knew once, and when our bodies were entwined in the positions of the Kama Sutra.
Zed! He was in the first one, he was in the second one, but then he was not back for the third one. They have his funeral in that, so unfortunately, but it was great to see him in the first two.
Come on, man, damn.
Hey, Jay, I'll tell you something about dames. They say they want to be scratched behind the ears, but what they really want is...
And I have to say, he was probably one of the highlight characters of the whole series.
Still sit and shiver? Want my advice?
No. No advice, no talking, hell no. Fellas, I swear.
And let me know what you all thought about Men in Black 2. I enjoyed it. I have to say the first one is much better, and the third one's pretty decent. And getting into the third one, so this one came out in 2012, and they do a time-traveling twist in this one. So you still got Will Smith, but instead of Tommy Lee Jones, they bring in Josh Brolin as the main characters. But it's just a younger version of Tommy Lee Jones. And one of the things that Josh Brolin nails is the performance and imitating Tommy Lee Jones. That really makes the film so much better. Will Smith, his character, actually gets to talk to his father, that's interesting. I'm not sure why they brought it up in 3, but they barely talk about it in 1 and 2 about him not having a father. I guess it was just like for the plot. But another cool part about this film is they do a throwback to the aliens. So you see all sorts of like creative designs for these aliens that reflect what people thought aliens looked like back in the 60s. Because it seems like, you know, every decade, I guess, aliens, or the thought of aliens maybe, I guess, changes or evolves as time goes on. And this one definitely starts out like the others, but then with that time-traveling twist, it makes it a lot more watchable as the third part of a, you know, series. And there is no Tony Shalhoub in this one. Also, all of the celebrity cameos, Tony Shalhoub plays Jack Jeeves in the first film and the second film. He's an alien that owns a pawn shop. And both Will Smith's character and Tommy Lee Jones's character know Jack Jeeves even before Will Smith joins the Men in Black. So he's kind of the connecting glue that brings the whole thing together there in the first one. So that's definitely something to watch out for. Now, Jermaine Clement played Boris the Animal.
Obadiah Price. Yes, I did make your promise.
Who is the big bad alien in this one. And he's definitely really similar to D'Onofrio's performance, and he's really kind of harnessing that a little bit. You kind of get that sense from his performance. But he's this alien that escapes detention on the moon and makes it to Earth and wants to kill Tommy Lee Jones's character, but the younger version of him. So he goes back in time really to kill Josh Brolin. Pretty strange about this one is it was known to be a really chaotic set and chaotic making of, because they were trying to take advantage of a New York tax credit that was about to expire. So what they did was threw together whatever script they could and shot a few scenes to say, hey, this movie's in production before the deadline. And then they paused production so they could work on the script, which is really strange when you have everybody there ready to go and continue filming. But, you know, no, we have to get the script right. But them sidelining Tommy Lee Jones for Josh Brolin, I thought was a pretty good move. And
You lose something over here, Hondo? No, hey man, hey, how old are you?
And then them still retaining that same character with Josh Brolin, but he gets to almost play his own version because, you know, it's a much younger version.
29. Oof. You have some city miles on you. I'm starting to understand why we don't talk.
They also show Jay's character, Will Smith's character, playing video games in this, which, you know, you don't see that in the first two. And Tommy Lee Jones even says, like, hey, I know you're playing video games. And one interesting quote from this one is Tommy Lee Jones asks Will Smith, you know, hey, what do you think is the most destructive power of the universe? And he says sugar, and he's like, no, it's regret. So I mean, that's a pretty cool line there in the movie. And then this budget was actually $215 million, but they actually got $654 million. So this is the most successful film of the trilogy, and that's one of the reasons why we got Men in Black International later on. And turning to Men in Black International, now this one came out in 2019, and it stars Chris Hemsworth as Agent H, Tessa Thompson as Agent M, Kumail Nanjiani as Pawnee, Rebecca Ferguson as Riza, and then Liam Neeson as High T. And okay, so Sony wanted to do a whole reboot for this. They wanted to go ahead and just say, okay, well, the Men in Black still exist, but we're going to make new characters and tell a new story. The one connecting glue, though, in this is definitely Emma Thompson, because she's in the third film. She takes over for Rip Torn's character as the chief of the Men in Black. And she goes ahead and is still the head of the Men in Black International by the time we tune in there in 2019. And I do like to see Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson return together in this one. The studio was trying to go ahead and harness what they saw in Thor Ragnarok and try to get them to do it again. And I mean, the chemistry was there, so that's one of the bonuses about this movie. Although I've seen it twice, and I think, you know, that's maybe one too many times for this film. I think this is just a one watcher, and honestly, I would say just skip it. But you know, one of the things about this film is it does slow down, and it's too connected or too much plot-like of number 2. It slows down, speeds up a little bit, and then it slows down again. So it's one of those films that kind of tricks you. Like, you can't tell if it's good or not until the end. And you know, they brought in $253 million on a $110 million budget, and that makes me really wonder, were people tired of the Men in Black at this point? Maybe they were just ready for, you know, a new series or something else. And there was almost a crossover for Men in Black International with 21 Jump Street, which would have been wacky. I can't even imagine seeing the 21 Jump Street movie with Channing Tatum and, you know, I couldn't imagine them putting those two universes together, especially because 21 Jump Street, they don't have aliens or anything supernatural, or I mean, you know, I think a Ghostbusters Men in Black crossover would be a lot of fun. You know, if you have alien ghosts, that's something to do. Because of budget complexities, though, they did abandon the crossover idea, which I'm glad that they did that. One of the things this had was the most advanced CGI compared to all of them, considering it was made in 2019. But really, that and the practical effects are nothing compared to the Oscar-winning work of Rick Baker in the first film. And there is some chemistry between Hemsworth and Liam Neeson at the beginning of the film, and it's fun to see them together. But you don't really get to see that the whole rest of the movie. And they do bring the Eiffel Tower into this, saying, I guess it was designed by an alien. So that's kind of a cool little plot wrinkle. And, you know, I do say skip this film because the first 3, really the first one's the best, but it's not a terrible watch, but I would say only watch it if you're a fan of the Men in Black movies. And then moving on to the animated spin-off, Men in Black the series. This went from 1997 to 2001. And this is one I kind of watched a little bit. I didn't see a ton of it, but the voices were Edo Ross and Dan Castanella as Agent K, Keith Diamond as Agent J, Jennifer Lean as Agent L, and then Charles Napier as Zed. And this was part of the Kids Warner Brothers block, and it ran for 4 seasons. And one of the things they did for each and every episode was they said that there has to be the syndrome. So, for example, the goodbye syndrome or the neuralizer syndrome. And the neuralizer is this device that the Men in Black use, and it's got a flash to it, but then what they're able to do is erase and alter people's memories. So that's something to watch out for if you haven't seen the Men in Black films before. It's highly stylized for a animated show, and this was all because of Michelangelo Prado, and he's got this kind of gritty, dark aspect to it, and it is pretty enjoyable. And it is known as probably the best movie to cartoon adaptation that's ever been put out. So that's definitely saying something considering all the adaptations that we've seen throughout the years. And I did check out episode 1. It's kind of cool. They start with a cat in a tree, so that's a fun thing to see. And watching this, it made me feel like I was 10 years old again, because this wasn't a show that I watched like religiously or always tuned in for, but I do remember watching it here and there. And it wasn't anime, but it was animation, so that's definitely something I still love. I'm not terribly into anime, but I guess I just haven't watched the right one yet. And there is an awesome intro and music and style to this one. So just the way that they edit it and throw it together, it's something to check out. So that has been the Men in Black films. We've looked over all 3 of them, and then the reboot, and then also the cartoon. So let me know in the comments if y'all have seen any of these movies, if you like any of these movies, and if you think that they should make another one. I think that they should do another Men in Black, And the idea is, I want Will Smith for sure as the lead. He's going to play Tommy Lee Jones's character, right? So he's going to be the old seasoned agent who, and he's going to still be himself. He's going to still be Agent J, the loose and happy-go-lucky. And we're going to bring in as the trainee Timothy Chalamet. So he's going to be the by-the-book, straight out of the academy, the Men in Black person who needs to be trained up, but also maybe needs to bring a little bit more restraint to Jay's character. Whereas Jay is going to be, Will Smith, he's going to loosen Timothy Chalamet up a little bit. And that's going to be the whole plot. So yeah, I mean, I am not going to stop until we see Will Smith and Timothy Chalamet and Men in Black 4, or 5, I guess, because there's that spin-off in between. I guess we could just forget Men in Black International in between, and we'll call it Men in Black 4. So that's something to do. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. And please remember to like, comment, subscribe, share, message me any topics, actors, movies, shows, anything you want me to talk about, and we can get it going. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm James, and this was Cinema Clown Around, Episode 7. Everyone, have an excellent day.